Hi everyone. Let us put into practice what we have learned. Assets. Before we start working on haptic patterns, make sure you downloaded the audio samples in the video description. The audio sample we are working on in this episode is the electric explosion of a golem's grenade. This is how it looks like. Let's hear how it sounds like on its own. Here is the description of the sample. Its duration is 2 seconds. It's a one-shot type audio sample. Its intensity is strong. And it's used as a primary sensation. Concerning its spatialization, this sample is located. That means that the explosion will be felt in a specific direction around the user. This is a 4-part sound. There's a primer from 0 to 80 milliseconds, an attack from 80 to 300 milliseconds, a decay from 300 milliseconds to 800 milliseconds, and a zapping sound that concludes from 800 milliseconds to 2 seconds. Note on dynamic spatialization. Spatializing an effect in real time in a game relies on the game engine's plugin we provide for Unity and Unreal. In fact, after creating your effect, you will be able to change a certain number of effect parameters right before triggering your pattern, and this way render your effects dynamically. One of these parameters is rotation. Modifying this parameter will allow you to rotate the spatialization shapes you created around the center point. This feature is only available in shape mode spatialization. And as of Unitouch 1.3, note that those modifier parameters can't be changed during the playback of an effect. This is why we need to prepare our files and spatialize the effect while keeping in mind that this effect will be rotated around the center point. As said earlier, we will use a shape-based spatialization for this effect. If we play again the sound, we can hear that there is a double attack in the beginning of the sample. I call the first attack a primer, preparing for the main attack of the explosion. I will make this with a simple click, followed by a light noise. Let's add a low click before the explosion. I will then use explosion 1 as the core for this second attack, and I will crop it. Note that I'm following the timestamps for each part seen previously in the sample description. I will not add haptics for the decay, as I need to contain the energy so that this last zap feels more intense. Because it's an electric explosion, I will use samples from the electrical category. First, the Thunderbolt Big. I will turn its volume down so that it stays in the background. Then, I will layer it with a sample called Shock Arcs. This will constitute the foreground. Finally, I will add on top a freeze effect to spread particles all along this electric sensation and its decay. The spatialization is fairly simple on this effect. Because we will be able to rotate the effect and place it in the direction from which the explosion arrives, we will put everything in front of the player. Note that you can copy and paste shapes from one keyframe to another, even across different clips. To make it stand out, I will add an 80% boost to the effect. It's done. Now we can export and save it in a dedicated folder. We now have our explosion effect ready. In the next episode, we'll talk about the new features of Unitouch 1.4. To receive more information on tutorials and haptics, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell below.